I'd like to share with you an unusual way to have an unlimited resource pool for your business to lower the cost of your marketing and to increase your overall profits without doing much different. Hi, I'm Justin Hitt with Commercial Electrical Profits. If you're an electrical contractor that does inside work and you come across an opportunity to do utility work, would you pass it over? Would you turn it away? Now, you should turn it away because utility work is fundamentally different than inside wiring. Just as low voltage wiring is different from high voltage wiring. But if you had a customer come to you and said, hey, look, I know you guys have been doing our internal work. Who do you recommend to do our utility work? Would you recommend somebody, or would you establish a joint venture or subcontract arrangement so that you can serve that customer and own that relationship? Well, I certainly hope you do the latter. I certainly hope you would take every effort possible to serve your customers in order to maintain, cultivate, and own that business relationship. Everything that I teach you is about transforming business relationships into profits. And one of the very best ways to transform business relationships into profits is to find the buyers in your marketplace and cultivate relationships with them. Now, they're going to ask for stuff you might not be able to do. You may be an electrical contractor who does inside wiring and utility work, and now they're asking about generators. And you don't have any relationships with generator manufacturers or installs, and you know that sometimes that's a specialty type of item. You have to rate the generator for the space. You could do the utility connect, but you can't get them a generator on site, and you wouldn't even know where to start. Generac or some other, who knows? Your mind is blown, and you simply say to them, hey, that's not something we do. Let me refer you to somebody else. You've lost a customer for life. It's not something you can do right now, but what if your business expanded and you grew, and in 2 to 6 years down the line, you could do generator installations. Now, obviously, you can't make the customer wait till 2 or 6 years down the line, but you can, through your business network, establish a mutually beneficial relationship, whether it's a subcontract agreement, whether it's a joint venture agreement. And we're going to expand a little bit on the joint ventures because they can be powerful from a marketing perspective, even if you're the only person the customer ever knows. But the point I'm making here is don't turn away a paying customer. Now, my philosophy has always been, and my mentors have shared this with me, that it's better to get 10% or 25% of any business than 100% of no business. And I worked in the government contracting world where we would go in on a project and we'd have maybe 6 or 7 contractors on there, and I might only get 5% off of the gross, but the gross on the contract was like $1 million versus if I went in and did the work myself, it might have only been $20,000 or $30,000 of the work I could do. But now I got the burden on the customer to go find all the rest of the people. So one of the things that I learned really quickly after making all kinds of dumb mistakes on doing one-off work for customers, and the biggest problem was I'd go in and I'd do like a computer install, and then the software guys would come in behind me. They're paying me, I got the invoice in their hand. They're getting ready to pay me for my work. But then the software guys would like wreck something all up, and they'd say, oh, it was the bad hardware. Obviously the Microsoft Office doesn't work because they gave you the wrong size monitor. If you really had a bigger monitor, and now the customer doesn't pay the invoice on time because there's this belief that the hardware is the problem when actually the software person came in and did the wrong thing. So I eventually went in there, and instead of bringing in a separate software person, I did the hardware install, but I brought on early on the project a software company, and then through a partnership with them, got their input, their buy-in, so that when they finally did install the software, they can't blame the computer system because they helped with the specifications. Do you see how that works? Well, I'm sure you have the same problem. You do the inside wiring, but now you're waiting 3 months on the outside wiring or the utility connect, and the customer's all pissed off. Well, in the mistakes that I was making, that customer being pissed off caused them to not pay the invoice on time, or in some cases to question the invoice. But when I brought in the wiring people, when I brought in the electricians, when I functioned as the general contractor or the project manager for larger jobs, hardly ever would a customer be upset. Now, I did have times where the subcontractor would wreck stuff up. And don't get me wrong here. Following this methodology or this syndication, we often call it subjugating your competitors, but following this method does not eliminate the fuck ups and mistakes that people make. I know I try not to use profanity, but it's true. You probably have stayed away from subcontracting or working for general contractors or doing multiple contractor assignments because people fuck shit up and they make a mess of things. But guess what? They're going to make that mess whether they go in before you and leave that mess for you to clean up or go in after you and mess up good quality work that you've done. So while there's a handful of ways that I've seen this done. Subjugating your competitors is where you actually take over the marketing and you go find those customers before your competitors have them, and then you bring on the competitors. And the more you bring on your competitors as subs, the less skills they'll have in finding new customers. And then while you're maintaining that customer relationship, you'll own the customer and you can grow that customer account. But the second thing I want to share with you that I'll spend a little more time is actually the joint venture elements on the front end to find customers. And I'll give you a very practical example. Let's say you're just a straight electrical contractor. Now, I know there's a lot of electrical contractors who are also plumbers, who also do HVAC, who also do generators, who also do like janitorial services and 50,000 other things. I'm not talking about that kind of company. I'm talking about a straight in electrical contractor that maybe specializes in something like electric motors. So you do this very narrow scope of things. But you work with manufacturing facilities, and what you've found is that many manufacturing facilities are also hiring plumbers and electricians and roofers and all these other people. And in the back of your mind, you thought, well, you know what? I like to grow the business. Maybe I should expand the business to be a plumbing service too. Maybe I should expand I've been doing a lot of install wiring for HVAC systems. Maybe I should put an HVAC technician on and own some of that business. And that's a very reasonable, a very logical explanation. But what if there's a way? What if there's a way you could own that customer so that whether they're getting electrical, plumbing, HVAC, roofing. Now, don't go far out into janitorial services and pressure washing and all these other things. You don't need to be a jack of all trades, but you can simply pick 2 or 3 partners in the business. Maybe you have a buddy who does HVAC and all they want to do is HVAC, and they've been referring a lot of business to you already to do the connects. And you know what? When anybody asks you about HVAC, you send them to your buddy. Well, a joint venture marketing cooperative. And I set up a few of these there, and I've been a part of a few of these. These are incredible. But a joint venture marketing cooperative could market both electrical and HVAC services to a specific set of customers and effectively cut your marketing costs in half. Listen, this is very important. If you don't learn anything from the materials we have for you at Commercial Electrical Profits, it's the fact that your commercial customers are buying many related and compatible services. And if you had the right partnerships or joint marketing arrangements or strategic agreements with other organizations that you trust and who trust you, if you don't have that, you're missing out on a huge opportunity. And this is very often why a large company will come in from outside your market and just stomp you. It's one of the reasons why a lot of local contractors struggle and they never get to become regional. Because you can, by the way, even have strategic agreements with other electrical contractors outside your region. But let's roll back into this and look at it very carefully. You have a postcard that works like magic. You know that if you rent a mailing list or you work with a certain magazine or you send this card, you get business. Maybe you even got it from one of these services, but you send this card, you get business. The current cost per lead on that card is $100. Let's just put that up as an example. But what if on the back end of that card, for everybody who did not get electrical services, you sent them something else that introduced them into HVAC services? Now, of course, you wouldn't just do this because you're going to do this. You would be partnering with your HVAC company who would put up money up front to help with the initial leads, to make sure that you get a mutually qualified prospect, and then immediately after there's some type of a period of time, so the postcard goes out, then maybe after 30 days, if the customer hasn't bought, you now send them a letter which introduces this HVAC company. You put all those costs together. Maybe it drives your cost per lead up to maybe $200. Let's say it doubles your cost per lead. Now you might be saying, well, Justin, this is not making sense because you just doubled my cost per lead. I don't even know what a cost per lead is. Well, a cost per lead is all your marketing costs put together divided by the number of responses. My assumption here is that the same postcard is going to generate the same number of responses, and therefore, if we've doubled the cost of the campaign, your cost per lead doubles. Are you with me? Pay close attention here because this is going to blow your mind. Okay, you're going to think about this, and then you're going to start thinking about all the people you know where you ought to be setting up these relationships. And you're going to just freak out about this. So listen closely. We've doubled your cost per lead. And you're thinking, oh, crap. Leads cost me $100 before. They cost me $200 now. But guess what? Your partner put in matching funds. So your actual cost per lead, your effective cost per lead, is still only $100 because every person who doesn't buy after that point of connect gets the letter from the HVAC service, who's funding your initial run so that you can get a larger pool of leads up front. Did I just blow your mind? Now listen carefully. This is going to go. You're going to want to call my office and schedule a consultation because of just what I'm about to share with you. You've got the lead in your business, and because you're cooperatively marketing these individuals, and they're complementary customers for both businesses, you now pay in a little bit more on the back end so that for every lead the HVAC company gets, they can follow those who don't become HVAC customers with an offer about electrical services. Mind blown again, right? Right? So you're out generating leads, the same number of leads you're generating before with the same budget you had before, and now you decide, well, you know what? Let's scale it up. We have something that works. The HVAC company gives you half of their marketing budget, and you put it into this, and you send it out, and you get a bunch of leads. Now, those leads who don't buy, they get a letter about the HVAC company. The HVAC company's happy. They even, because they paid for this, they only gave you half of their marketing budget, so they're already ahead of the game. They get these leads, and then they turn around and do the same thing. So you send them half of the marketing budget you have. Now you're getting twice as many leads for the same amount of money. And if you work back and forth, we usually put a marketing coordinator on this to strategically develop a marketing calendar so that what happens is with the same amount of money, you get twice as many leads, twice as many sales, and then we take a percentage of the gross, invest it back into the program, and drive forward sales and leads, leads and sales and leads, bigger contract sizes, more opportunities. Who else can partner in this? And you end up with a situation where you now have a marketing war chest that is constantly replenished with new sales, constantly replenished with the partners in the opportunity, and now the marketing cooperative is like clockwork driving in customers. Let me reiterate. Your cost per lead doubles on paper, but effectively is the same because your partner is paying for a matching fund of your original account. Now, they could pay for half and then your costs stay the same. No, they actually go in half. But it gets all crazy. Your head's going to explode. The point I'm making here, two people, one guy's got $1, one guy's got another $1. You now have $2 worth of advertising versus $1 worth of advertising. You can do this with pay-per-click. You can do this with postcard campaigns. You can do this with letters. You can do this with the home show booth. You've shared the costs. Now, of course, this is a very simple model of this, but think about this. If you both are doing pay-per-click independently for the same customers, then unfortunately, you're now paying twice as much for a lead because you now have it's an auction model. But it gets worse. If you guys are independently going after the same customers and you don't have this cooperative arrangement, somebody who could ask one of your technicians for an HVAC referral and you wouldn't have the goodwill of it being referred because the technician's buddy does HVAC. This also, by the way, eliminates the side jobs that your technicians might be doing because you have better lead tracking and you have better follow-up. And the more you follow up on the leads, the more often they are likely to purchase. And then if you add in my event marketing program, you can actually co-sponsor marketing events like customer appreciation. You can co-sponsor demonstration days. You can co-sponsor charitable activities. And now you're getting twice as much reach on half of the budget. Now, again, let me repeat this. This is either subcontracting people so that you can take on jobs that your customers bring up, and subcontracting the people under your quality control so that you can accept these larger jobs from your clients rather than have them refer them off to someplace else. And then the second part is a joint venture where you're actually partnering with organizations to pool your money for marketing because you both have the same types of customers, but you don't compete. It's just complementary. And then setting up a marketing series so that you can get maximum value from everyone who raises their hand interested in what it is that you have to offer. Now, if you have trouble with this concept, you got to visit us at www.commercialelectricalprofits.com and click the little help button and ask your question. Because if you're missing this, you won't realize it when your competitors start doing it, because this is under the radar. Like, how does anybody know that all the responses to a general advertisement about home services is now being partnered out to an electrical contractor, a plumbing contractor, an HVAC contractor? How does anybody know that letter to a procurement manager who got them to raise their hand and attend an event that talked about the 3 critical maintenance areas to be concerned about in your manufacturing facility? How is anybody going to know what's happening, especially not your competitors? And from the customer's perspective, it's huge value. They'd much rather go to an event where they learn about the 3 facilities mistakes that every manufacturing facility has, or, for example, electrical configurations for lean manufacturing, where you've partnered with a lean manufacturing consultant and you've partnered with a lean manufacturing supply organization. Do you see how this works? Now you got 3 times as much money to go after the same customer. You can visit them more times. You can follow up more often. You can even put telemarketers on the phone to follow up and do surveys. And in fact, my organization sets up these joint ventures. I've seen it thousands of times. I've worked with other organizations. This is standard, like for the De Beers Diamond Company, for the oh my gosh, it's like everywhere, but you don't see it because it's under the radar. So if you've got questions, visit us at www.commercialelectricalprofits.com. Ask those questions. I'll be happy to answer them in the next podcast. I'm Justin Hitt with Commercial Electrical Profits. I'm here to help you create and keep profitable customers and transform business relationships into profits guaranteed. And the best and fastest way to make more money from your customers is to have lower costs to acquire them. Oh my gosh. And the best way to keep customers is to provide them a more complete and more valuable service. Folks, again, I'm Justin Hitt with Commercial Electrical Profits. Hope to hear from you soon.